What's up? You've tuned into the Kokomo Press Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Grainger, and this week I'm joined by a co-host of sorts, a guy who has his own podcast called Come On Bro with Messy Gravis. Ladies and gentlemen, my homie this week, my podcasting friend, and my co-host is Sean D. Sean D is funny on everything. Check him out. We hung out with a comic that we have been canoodling with in Indy when we've been going to open mics at Fountain Square and over at Liberty Street. His name is Bob East, Art of the Beast on Instagram. Go follow him. He's great. And we saw him Saturday night when I judged a roast battle called Slight Night run by Kevin King at Planetary Brewing in Greenwood, Indiana. It was a fun night, but before we get into that, make sure you do me a quick favor. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, do all the things to help us be seen, because when we're seen, then we can continue to give you great content and media. Thank you. Anyway, Bob East, he's a caricature artist and artist just in general, does a lot of illustrations, but he's also a stand-up comedian, an actor, a writer, director. What doesn't he do? That's what I like about people in the comedy community. We all do so much. Bob sat down with us to talk about so much, including the roast last night, which we all hung out at. He participated. I judged. Sean was there with me, helped me write jokes. We had a great time. We recapped that. We talked a little bit about comedy and what our philosophical differences, how long we've been doing it. This is a very comedy-heavy episode here with Bob, because we talked a lot about what's going on, but we also talked about his illustrations. We talked about comedians we like. We talked about bits we're working on and how we come up with our oldest bit, things that we've done that we've taken and recaptured and done things. We literally hit in everything. We even talked about a Kokomo Press open mic, which there's a little bit of news at the end of this. If you check this out, you're going to hear about it. If not, you'll have to wait till the announcement later today on Monday. But we had a blast. It was myself, Sean D, and Bob East this week on this episode of the Kokomo Press Podcast, baby. Oh, woo!
Warning, this video contains adult content not suitable for children.
That would work. It is funny how like that joke, the aristocrat the aristocrat joke is like the original like horrible drawn out, like it's like you want to say the worst things possible, like you're not trying to be. It's like funny, but also it's extremely offensive and like crude, and it's funny how a lot of comics nowadays have no idea what that is, the aristocrats, like,
and it's just the punchline is so perfect, the aristocrats, because they're such an aristocratic, like, nice little but you know, I'm an animator and I grew up on animation, so the Aristocats is in my wheelhouse. So that's always in my head. When I try to say aristocrats, I always get confused because that movie was one that was out when I was growing up.
So when you started doing illustrations and stuff, did obviously it was before. I've seen you on an iPad, but it was before the iPad. So what did you start on? Like, what was the first medium?
Paper,
Just regular
I still
paper?
draw on paper, all the time.
What's that? I'm just kidding.
What's paper? I know, that's why I went to this. But so paper. The iPad is just for portable, for like, because I'm so busy that I should be working. Like, I should have been working last night. So it's like, well, if I bring my iPad, I can kind of work while other people are. So
where all do you do illustrations for? Like,
I have a caricature stand at the Indianapolis Indians.
That's awesome.
And then I get hired for events. I did a some dental conference yesterday. I was drawing dentists, and then I do just freelance illustration and animation.
Yeah. That's fun though. I mean, that's
awesome.
It is fun. Yeah.
I do illustrations for like dumb stuff. Like I did like that. If you look at that, it's nothing. It's just just our faces. I do it on my iPad just to like give us things to put out, like random shit like that. But it's nothing. It's nothing like fantastical or anything.
No, it's good though. I like it.
We just like we do our own shop, and it's like direct to print shop, the Kokomo Press shop, and I'll come up with items or ideas and throw them on there. I need to do a better job with it, because honestly I get caught up in so many aspects of the media, because like you're a good person to bounce this off of. How long have you been doing comedy?
8 years.
8 years?
7 or 8 years.
So you've been doing obviously illustrations far longer than that. So do you do any other like medium stuff? Like do you acting? Do you like skits? Anything like that?
I've directed 3 movies now. I'm currently editing the third one. So I act only by necessity, I think is the word. Like when you first start out and you're making independent films, you can't find actors. So I had to step in.
We actually know all about it.
Yeah. So
me, it's the opposite. I ended up doing the directing and the videography and stuff, and like doing that type of stuff in order to like have projects to do, because I'd rather just be acting, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, acting and editing. If I could get a videographer to just do all the videography stuff, because I can do that too, but we have a guy Matty Kroll, that does it for us a lot of the times.
I don't like to run the camera. I have a camera and know how to run it. I don't like to run it. I direct and I act. Yeah. But I only act like an idiot, like an improv level actor. Yeah. My character is always.
So on the list though, but you got, obviously if you direct and you write these movies, you probably write them, right? You're writing movies.
Yeah, I write most of them.
You do illustrations, you do acting, you do comedy. Is there anything else on the totem of media?
Of media, no. I play golf, but I don't play very much anymore. Yeah. Because it's one of those things,
Yeah, so that's enough though. Like honestly, that's a lot.
I do a lot of stuff. It's like I need to cut back on. That's why I stopped playing golf, is I'm doing too many things. Yeah, and
talking about many things.
I could be good at golf if I gave up some of the other stuff. Yeah, I used to be pretty good, and then I stopped playing for a while. Yeah, and then I picked it back up, but
it's one of those things that it just costs more. It costs money. It doesn't pay money. Yeah. And that's like a lot of the stuff that we like. Podcasting is hilarious to me because it just costs money.
I feel like that's the way comedy is too. It's like I don't say it. Well, it does cost money if you have to buy your drinks while you're at the bar or whatever. But it's a long time between nothing to actually making money. You have to be at a certain level in golf to make money, and you probably have to be at a certain level in comedy to make enough money that you're not.
Yeah, but I mean,
you can't make money.
Maybe from my perspective, there's probably more people that play golf for like fun than people that do comedy for fun. Would you say that? Like, so a lot of people, like I know that. Okay, so like there was a big thing in the Indianapolis comedy groups where they were talking about like making sure, like veterans in the comedy were like, make sure you talk money. Like that's something that a lot of comics. It's something that you want shows more than you want anything. People want shows more than they want anything, because like getting on stage is the main thing.
Yeah, exposure is everything.
Yeah, and meeting people and doing shows, and if you're funny in front of the right people, you might get 4 more shows out of it. It's so important in the networking aspect of it. So people don't want to say no to shows, but also they don't. They want to get paid, and they don't want to feel like they were, somebody made a bunch of money and then they walked away with zero. So it's like it is a tightrope walk there.
It is. Yeah. But for me, like I have a good job with what I do in illustration, and I don't want to sound like a dick. Yeah, but maybe I am. But like, at a certain point, it's like I don't care. Like if somebody's gonna pay me, $25 for a comedy show, I'm like, what am I gonna do with $25? Yeah, keep your $25, put it back into your show.
Yeah, and
that's not enough.
Again.
And book me again. Yeah, that's not enough. And I appreciate the offer. Yeah, and they're trying to do the right thing. And I tried to refuse money from Kevin Eggleston, who's a great guy. Yeah, and because I told him like, dude, I appreciate that, but I don't need the money enough. I just like being on your show. Put that back onto your show. And he's like, no, you're not going to make me. He has a moral compass that tells him he's paying comics. Yeah. So he refused to let me refuse the money because of his ethics. He's a great guy for that. But my opinion is like, there is a certain amount of money I would not turn down. But if it's $25 or $30, I would rather see that money go back to the producer of the show so they can use that to promote the show, keep the show going, put me on another show. Yeah, I completely agree. Stage time.
I completely agree, because I what show did you do with Kevin?
It was the Riffs Alive show.
Alive. See, I did the karaoke comedy show with him.
Oh, okay.
That was interesting because maybe I'm terrible at reading, maybe sometimes, but I thought it was a karaoke and comedy show. I thought you had to do both, but apparently he signed me up as a comic, which was fine. I was cool with doing either or. Yeah. But then if you lose in the comedy, like if you don't win, you have to sing.
Oh, and that's fun.
My thing was I wanted to do both anyway, so I kind of wanted to lose.
That sounds great. I would love to sing badly.
It was funny because the woman, they had a female host from, I think she said she works out in New York. I don't remember her name because But she brought me up on stage and kind of threw me for a loop because she said something along the lines of, this next guy's probably going to come up and do dick jokes. And I was like, I don't even do dick jokes. Like, he knows this. I don't do that. So it threw me for a loop. So I threw something out there as a joke. And then I feel like, because like I was thrown for a loop from it, she kind of had this like, I hope he loses so that when he has to sing, it's going to go bad. And then when she handed me the mic, she's like, are you a good singer? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh. And she gets off stage, and then I sing, and I'm actually I'm a better singer than I am a comic, which is crazy, I would say. And I don't think I'm a bad comic, but I'm a better singer. That's what I've done my whole life. So I go up there and I sing a song, and then at the end, she's like, "Wow, that's not fair." Like, I want to watch you guys. Would have been great
if you sang a dick song.
Just like something about penises.
I did do one show. I did a show where I wasn't actually on the show as a comedian, but I drew the comedians for Cavan.
Yeah.
That was a fun show. And he did, that's the one where I refused because it was for humane, some dog rescue.
Yeah.
So that one he did not pay me on.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to pay me and he offered to pay me, and I said, just donate that to your dog rescue.
Yeah.
So I think that
when I did the show with him there,
good.
he like messaged in the group and was like, hey, send me your Cash Apps, your Venmos, whatever. Yeah. And I told him, I'm like, just give it to the bar staff, because like, to me, it was like, he ended up letting,
what I should do.
He let two of our people in for free. So like, he let my buddy, I was like, I'll pay. And he was like, no, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, well, that's going to go. I don't want to get any, I'm not taking money if he lets my people in free. Like, I had two people. I had Sean actually and my friend Courtney to take like videos and stuff. Cause like, to me, like the hardest, I saw somebody posted, I don't know where it was posted, and I want to give this person credit because it's one of those jokes or one of those posts that stays in your brain and you always comes back to. But the guy posted or a lady posted something along the lines of, comedy nowadays isn't about being funny, it's about having access to a friend with a high quality camera that'll record your clips for you. I'm like, it's a fact, because like with our Kokomo Press shows, one of the big things that we do is we try to record things. I've been really bad at it lately because we've had a lot of great comics come through that have hit me up, and I'm like, I have not had time to look at any of the footage of like the last 4 shows we did because we lost our venue and I'm trying to get a new venue. And so that's been like the main thing, and then doing other shows. And so for me, when it comes down, when I saw that, it made me laugh so hard, because that's kind of my model. Our business model for my production is good music, like, or at least popular music, like playing good music, bringing people up to songs they want to be brought up to, filming what they're doing, filling the room. Like it's more than almost comedy shows nowadays have to be more than just a comedy live show in the moment. You almost need like to record everything and like, provide value in other ways. Have you noticed that like a lot in the scenes? Yeah.
It's funny because like I was on that roast battle you were talking about, and I got home, my wife was like, man, what did Terry rip on you about? And I was like, I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't.
Like I think I was focused on, I had these stupid Looney Tunes signs that was holding up.
They were so funny.
There was, I don't know if people got it, but it was like, I just ripped off a bunch of Bugs Bunny signs that were like corny and cheese, and I was holding them up during his jokes. So I didn't really pay attention, so I'm going to have to go back and watch the video and see what he said about me, but he was very funny. So
I think the part that I think that's the most memorable is you doing the terrible and him flipping it into incredible or something like that. Yeah. And that was interesting. Like he ended up, the funny thing is he tagged your joke and got a big laugh from it. And I'm like, if you wouldn't have given him the setup, he wouldn't have got that huge laugh, which Terry's very funny. I think you were riffing on his wife a little bit, like a little bit, like, which was fun. Like it was fun. But that show was a lot of fun. I mean, I brought Sean with me out there.
Yeah, that was fun.
I cheat. I'm a cheater. Yeah. I brought Sean and I was like, hey, if you have any cool jokes, text them to me and I'll be able to like say them.
Oh yeah. Perfect. That's great.
Because I was judging this. So this is to the people out there. First off, hi, I'm Jordan Grainger. I'm the host of Kokomo Press Podcast. Today over here in my red chair, I do have Sean D. You've seen him, you love him, you know him. But for the first time on the show ever, we have the wonderful Bob East, 8-year comic.
Hey, how you doing?
Just wonderful. Give it up for, hopefully this is the right button. Wrong one. Okay, every time, always forget. Give it up for these guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out here in the studio. But yeah, last night, like I've met you recently at some of the open mics down in Indy that we'd kind of gone to, but then we saw each other at a Planetary Brewing in Greenwood, Indiana for the Slight Night run by Kevin King. Yeah. And great show. A lot of great comics on the show. A lot of people that I've met and seen, people I've actually only met on Instagram too, because that's interesting when you see people in real life that you've never met in real life. But you know them them because you're like, I've seen your bits. Like Patrick,
Yeah.
I've only met him one other time, and Zach DeSuba, who's very funny judge.
Great.
But I ended up judging. I was one of the judges last night, doing what I do best, and that's judging people.
There you go.
And so you did one of the exhibition match against Terry Shepard, and I've never met Terry, so I've met you, and we've had good conversations. Even I've really liked some of the conversations we've had in passing at the mics.
Right.
So I was excited, and then you had this really cool pun approach that I personally, as a huge fan of Norm Macdonald, it gave me those vibes where I'm like, I love it. And then the pictures like, hey,
it almost. I tried my best not to do my Norm. It was. Terry's kind of hard to roast because first of all, like I didn't have any. I couldn't use any of my old guy jokes because I'm an old guy. It's like, I was like, well, there goes that. So I was kind of, what can I make fun? And he's such a nice guy, and I like him. We've been friends for a while, so I don't know enough about so it was very hard. So.
It was fun because
I basically said, what would Norm Macdonald do? And I just kind of wrote these bad Norm puns, and I just tempted to go up there like, hey, you ever seen this guy, Terry Shepard?
He's a guy.
Faggot. Gay, I don't know.
Is he gay? I don't know. That's one of my favorite things about seeing you at Liberty Street is you'll be like, have a list of I'm not giving away industry secrets.
Fine,
but I love it. You have like a list of different characters you do that are like, impressions, and you hand it to and then you pull out of the bucket that Cole Peterson has there, which is a fantastic bucket.
Fun,
and then you do jokes based, like you riff on it based upon. Great.
That's
great.
just because I'm so terrible at riffing as myself. It's funny because I took improv for 3 or 4 years, but I'm still not good at improv jokes. Like every once in a while, I can come up with a good spur of the moment joke. But those bucket draws, I'm so bad. If it's just me, I just pull the bucket draw and it's soda pop. I'm like soda pop, but. For some reason, if I go into it with a character, if I'm going in as a Clint Eastwood or a Seinfeld, then I go, okay, what would? It's easier for me to imagine what Clint Eastwood would say about a soda pop. Yeah, and it narrows your scope a little bit. Pussies drinking soda pop. But I love it. I love that because I do a lot of not necessarily impressions. Sometimes, I guess kind of impressions, but I do a lot of voices, a lot of songs, a lot of jokes. Yeah. So I'm very musical and in that aspect, and I like. They always say that if you're good at impressions, you can probably sing. If you can sing, you're probably good at impressions in a way because you can variate the tonality of your voice and kind of speak from different parts of it. Have you ever sang? Are you? I have sang. I'm not great. I have actually sung. I sung the theme song to my movie. Yeah. So you said you've shot 2 and you have a third one you're working on. Okay? Yeah. What are the 2 names of the movies? The first one was Pit Fire of Hell, and it's a horror anthology. It's your typical kids go out into the woods and tell stories. Yeah. That's with cool. Some comedic twists. It was basically, I do illustration work, and I do all these Days of the Dead and horror conventions. And my friend, who's a photographer, came to one of the shows, and he saw everybody made movies, and he's like, "We should make a movie." Yeah. So I basically took 2 or 3 things that I had written as comics. And we filmed those, and we wrote some other stories and put it together, and that was Pit Fire of Hell. And then the second one we made is called Holy Shit Man. Gosh. It's basically, it's the devil's plumber. So he's like Freddy Krueger, but he murders you with plungers. And there's a comic swirlies. Twist, right? These are comedy. It's very much everything we do has comedy. Yeah. I wondered because above to your left, that's a movie that we did called Dedicini Alfredo. I've got the nice. That's the poster. Yeah, and it's Dedicini Alfredo. It's based on pasta monster that starts to kill people in a house. That sounds fun. We have it on YouTube. It's under the I think it's under the Dwarf Adventures Owl House page. It's really it's a really interesting show. It's like less than 30 minutes. We started it as like a 5-minute skit, and then we ended up just building on it too big. I play
an Italian exorcist called a possexorcist. I can't even say it.
That's
but
right.
a Pastafarian with the hat.
Yeah.
Like it's such an insane.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. We did that,
really
and
idea.
then we do like a ton of skits. Like this guy wrote one that was called like Ghosts of Ex's Past.
It actually had animation in it too. It had
Yes.
an animated cum monster.
Yeah,
All
Cum
right.
Monster, which
That's
was
cool.
with the same
like-
guy that did both.
That's fun.
Did the voice of both, which is hilarious.
It's like it's kind of like a Christmas Carol. It's a retelling of a
Oh,
Christmas
nice.
Carol, but as my ex-girlfriend's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was a cool because it starts off with like it's two guys hanging out playing video games, and then they start to smoke a little bit of that ganja, and then all of a sudden he goes through I'm going to break up with her. I don't want to get her a gift, and then he has to live all his exes.
Isn't there a McConaughey movie like that?
I don't know.
Isn't there
don't
a Matthew McConaughey movie, Ghosts of Girlfriends Past or
Maybe
something?
there is.
they
That'd
ripped
be
you
There
off.
might be.
You got a McConaughey vibe, so
I could see it. Yeah. All right.
All right.
that's why. Yeah,
appreciate
so
that.
So you're working on so first off, we got to talk about your podcast. You just started a brand new podcast, 2 episodes out right now.
2 episodes out. Come on, bro. Hopefully, the next episode that you guys see, the ghosts are going to be Courtney Richard. The guests are going to be Courtney Richardson and Jordan Danger Grainger of
I'll
the
be there
Kokomo
hanging
Press.
out. You know, I'll
that's
hang
not
out.
that's not a gay podcast.
It does sound like it.
It sounds like come on me, bro.
I know,
Come right
exactly.
here, like
Yes, that's the whole joke. Double entendre of
Nice.
it.
I love it though. I think it's hilarious to like have a podcast
That's
named
funny.
Come On, Bro.
And
Yeah.
our logo is cartoons of me and my buddy.
Nice.
Bottomless.
Yeah.
With blurs over our
That's what I always thought that song "Come On Eileen" was.
Yeah, come on, you know, let's go. Yeah, so you have that going on, but also you've been writing a new movie himself called Donut Hose.
Donut Hose.
I have a movie I'm writing called Donut Hose. It's a buddy cop film where Brian and Jordan are going to be the 2 police officers, and it's about basically they're falling in love with these 2 women that happen to work at the local donut shop. Cops and fall in love with women at the donut shop.
Yeah.
And little do they know, the girl's father, the owner of the donut shop, is selling drugs out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so in the end, they go
Yeah.
and find out it's him. A big shootout ensues, and I'm not going to give away.
Yeah, I don't want to give away the end, but like, yeah, there's like it's going to be a whole, whodunit kind of thing. Like,
You
what's
should
going
have some
on?
guy that goes there every day and buys drugs, and at the end of the movie, he finds out, oh, you guys sell donuts? I had no idea. I thought that was just
that's funny.
I thought this was just a drug shop.
That would be funny. Like, I didn't even know they sold donuts.
That's
there.
right.
The first scene, I'm really excited about the first scene. It's a bum comes out of the woods, walking to a grocery store. He's listening to music.
Yeah.
We'll have one of our friends' bands as the music he's
Nice.
listening to. He puts his backpack down. He's like, I don't want them to think I'm stealing. I better leave my backpack here. The backpack starts buzzing. And so there's this like Karen-y rule follower, assistant manager.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he's like, oh, I got to call the cops. There's probably a bomb in there. Evacuate the store. Everybody's outside. They open the backpack and it's a vibrating.
Nice.
pocket pussy.
Nice. I'll audition to play the bomb. I'll play that bomb.
I'll play the bum. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah, that's
fun.
That's something we do. We do a holiday. We call it a holiday special every year. That we do a bunch of skits, like centered around like Christmas and the holidays. And we've done it 2 years in a row. The first year, like we tried to do it 3 years in a row, but the first year we all fell apart before we could get to it. But the first year we did it, we did the Ghosts of Ex's Past, which was interesting, and the ends of the Cum Monster as being like death, which is hilarious. And it's animated. We did like an animated thing, and then which is the first time we'd ever done that. And then we did like we do musical performances, like Mary Did You Know, but like they're responding to the angel singing about it. Like, no, I didn't know that. Like, very interesting. And then like this last year we did like a couple of them. Like one was a political one since Trump had just won. Yeah. And then we did one this last year that's like based upon like To Catch a Predator, but at the North Pole.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Just stupid formats.
That's
but we
fun.
played
Chuck Hansen in that one. I loved it. It was a lot of fun.
He didn't play Chris Hansen, but Chuck Hansen.
Chuck Hansen, yeah.
Because there's a teacher around here named Chuck Jansen that got caught with kids. It was a whole thing.
Wow, that's
yeah, we kind of played a little.
Jab, yeah.
But yeah, we it's funny because like meeting people doing comedy, you meet so many people that are multi-talented, such as yourself. So like, is it interesting when you meet somebody and you're talking to them about comedy and then you find out they do like a whole, like there's a whole nother, like Zach DeSuba is a perfect example of a guy who does so much.
Yeah, he does a lot.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, yeah.
Yeah, do you...
Terry made a movie, too.
Terry, yeah?
Terry Shepard recently, yeah.
Oh,
I've seen some of his things on Instagram. I've known Terry pretty much since I started comedy. I got a show in Ohio with Jerry Goebel because I took Jerry's class before he was doing it at the at
Crackers.
Yeah. There you go.
Right.
I took it there. Jordan actually took that class.
Yeah, we took it here.
How was that class? I never took it.
I liked it. I got some things out of it. I thought it was good.
You know, I work on Saturday. He was always scheduled when I work Saturdays as an artist, so I was never able to take it. But I took Dion Curry's class, which was rough, but yeah.
I kind of so it was during the pandemic when we did it, and we did it at like a bar event center here in town.
Nice.
Like we got a bunch of people together. We all paid the fee to do it. I think I went to 2 classes before. Like I just realized it wasn't for me. I wasn't ready for the class. Like it sounds crazy because the classes are supposed to teach you, but I wasn't ready for the type of class he was doing, because you'd come in with bits and then he'd help you like almost like dissect your bit down.
Right.
And at one point, like comics were like arguing my bit against him, like being like, oh, we think this. And I was like, I don't want to do this at all. This is like cringing me out a little bit. Cause like I didn't want my bits to be like kind of torn apart. And then people like the court versus there you go. But you know what I mean? Like,
that doesn't sound fun.
It ended up feeling a lot more anxiety, and it was like during the pandemic and shit already. So, but we did do a really fun show with them in the base or in that area, like a fuck the rules.
Oh,
show.
fuck the police!
Like the police show. It was like a stupid.
It was like during COVID. It was like you weren't supposed to do stuff,
right?
So we just live streamed a show. And
nice.
It was. We didn't know where everybody was at.
You know, you'll never find us. Like we were like literally.
Yeah, I think I did a 8 foot away show or something back when Gutties was still around. They did a show, and everybody was like a mile apart. Yeah.
Where's your favorite? So you've been doing it 8 years. Where's your favorite place to do comedy? Like the favorite place to get up at?
Well, it's not here. It's not around anymore, but it used to be Bear's Place in Bloomington. Did you ever go to that one?
No.
Oh, that was a great one. That was a great mic. But COVID closed them down.
Yeah.
So that was a great one. I think now probably, I don't know, that's tough. There's some good ones. I really like Fountain Square Brewery a lot, just because I think it's because that's where I'm friends with everybody that goes there.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. I like Mucky Ducks, that new one on Monday night.
Yeah, I saw.
It's not an ideal spot.
Yeah.
Because they don't turn the TVs off.
Yeah.
Because and I get it, because, they're in the business of making money, and us comics aren't bringing in any money.
Yeah.
Right.
So, half the crowd is just surrounded at the bar drinking.
Yeah.
But it's a fun mic, and,
That's Kevin's mic.
Kevin's mic, Hearthstone. He's a good dude.
I met him he came to our mic a couple times.
Yeah.
Interesting cat, like very interesting comedy. He hits a weird thing.
A weird vibe, because he's very motivated to do stuff, and I think sometimes that motivation upsets other people.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have whatever years experience that they have.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I mean, I don't care. Like, sometimes the best people in their field are not the best leaders. I mean, there's a number of really great basketball players that are terrible coaches.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
there's also really bad
thing.
Basketball players that are great coaches. So,
right. And that's the thing is, like with Kevin, I don't know that he's not that great at comedy. He's new at it, but he's good at getting a location, and he's good with, and I think some of these other comics that are experienced or veterans are maybe bothered by that.
Yeah.
But if they don't have the gumption to do it, they don't have the drive to do it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is whether you have the drive to do it.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, Walt Disney he was probably the worst artist in his artist staff.
Yeah.
But nobody can doubt that he was the leader. I'm not saying Kevin's any.
It's type A's around a bunch of type B's.
I'm not saying that Kevin is any kind of Walt Disney, but you have to look at it and go, well, Kevin may not be the best comedian in the room, but he listens to other comics.
Yeah.
And his heart's in the right place with it. So.
Yeah. Well, I know Sean had a different experience because the first time we met Kevin, he didn't go by Kevin. He had a whole different name, and he was an agent. And that's where I think our thing came from, where we're like, what's going on with this guy?
Right.
Because he came through like, I want to sign a couple of comics to my agency.
Right.
And did a whole, I don't know if it was a bit or what it was.
I didn't hear about that.
And then was like, I'm going to get you shows. I just want X amount of money. If I get you a show, you can get your own shows. But if I get you a show, you get X. And then disappeared. And then the next time we saw him, he was doing comedy at our
somebody
mic.
else.
And as a different name. And that's where where I get
He
like
did
that
text
vibe.
me about it afterwards.
Yeah.
And
what was
say-
the name that he went by?
It was Alex Adams, which is a porn star name. That's why he says when he's doing comedy, he's going by a different name now.
Yeah.
Which I understand, and it's fine. He messaged me, but he did like present himself as an agent and say he wanted to sign me and gave me a card.
And Doug too, our buddy Doug.
And Doug Arnold.
Yeah.
And then
that's where I get weirded out because it's like, and then there was a post about like Shane Gillis that blew up on the page, and then something about a comedy club, and I feel like that's where I feel like people think it's like there's something going on because he's done some weird things that wouldn't be. I would
think
never
he's
do.
manifesting with Shane Gillis.
Yeah,
I think what do they call it? Manifesting.
Is that vision boarding, something like that?
What is it?
There's manifesting is one thing. Like a vision board is like I'm gonna
I
get
think
there.
it's one of those things where if you say it.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe what would. But I don't know.
Try to
the comedy
speak it
thing,
into
the
reality.
comedy club thing, wasn't as. Basically, with the comedy club, I actually know the owners of the club that he was going to. He was going to, like, buy into a bar situation that already existed.
And
so
then
it wasn't
create
like
it, yeah.
So it wasn't like I'm going to start from scratch this building. It was a bar, and he was going to sublease.
And I don't know anything about that. I just saw he was catching crap for it. Like I said, my thing with him is like every time I've met him, he's been very nice to me.
Yeah,
we've had good
nice
conversations. There's never been negative, but I've seen a lot of negativity directed to him on the comedy pages.
Which
and
I don't
then
get. Yeah,
the weird thing with him is kind of what gave me pause. It's like, hold on, man. Like, are you for real? Or because I'll work with somebody who's for real.
Right.
Like, I'm not above anybody, and like I've been doing comedy 6 years. I'm not, and most of the comedy that we've done, specifically me, and I can speak for myself, I guess, is shows that I've put on myself because in our area, there's not a lot of operations, but there's a lot of people that want to come out and laugh. And we started a comedy page years ago that got axed from Facebook, and then we restarted this one. And in the last 5 years, we've grown to 30,000 followers on Facebook. And this is where we do the majority of our stuff.
Right.
And so because of that, we're able to almost have a tinge of legitimacy to people because they're like, okay, you do have an audience. You guys have created an audience. They're not, you have people that you work with, and we do put out so much stuff. But I do think the initial thing of like, I'm an agent kind of threw us.
I can see how that would.
Yeah. So that's why I've kind of like put a little arm length between him, not because I don't think he is a nice guy, because every time I met him, it's mostly been because I'm not sure if it's a put on, if it's like, I want to know, I want face value when I talk to somebody. Like I know, like when I met you, we had a pretty deep conversation about how comedy is done a lot of the times where, it's less of merit based.
I don't have a problem with the fake name for an agent, because I've thought about that myself. Like honestly, like, no, like I want to create, like, here's the thing. As an illustrator, I don't want to directly contact. I don't want to have my name direct with. Yeah. I want to, I want to make up some fake name, Yeah. Joel Silverman. I'm just going to say I'm Joel Silverman, and I'm an artist agent, and I represent Bob, and then I can be the middleman to myself. Yeah. And then I could also represent other artists.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, you got
so it makes it seem it sort of like makes it seem like you're a bigger person to people that are contacting you because you're working through an agent.
It's like Wolf of Wall Street, where he's like, "I'm going to put you through to my secretary," and they're all looking around like, "You don't have a secretary."
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the vibe.
I do think that like 90% of anything in show business is belief. Yeah. Like you have to believe in yourself, like to the point where like you become undeniable because you don't give up. Because a lot of people, they give up early, or they decide, this is as far as I'm going, and they just get comfortable in the middle there. Or
I think that's the one thing I do like about Kevin is I don't know, will he open a comedy club? I don't know. Yeah. Will his shows be a success? I don't know. Yeah. But he's at least trying. Yeah. Because I see so many comics that don't try. And I'll be honest, I think comedians, I'm just going to set a play out. Most stand-up comedians that I know in this area are lazy. Yeah. I'm just going to flat out say it. They're lazy. Yeah. I don't think they write enough. Yeah. Yeah. and I know that not because I'm watching them, but I know that because if I see somebody, and I haven't seen you at a lot of mics, but you know, if I see somebody at a mic 2 years ago and then I see him, you know, all the time for 2 years, and I see him last night and they're doing the same joke the same way, that tells me that it's either they've perfected the joke, which I doubt. Yeah. Or they're too lazy to make that joke better,
or too afraid to try something new,
or too afraid. So I really don't think, like, I know what it takes to be great at something. I'm not saying I'm great at art, but I've done quite a bit in illustration and animation, and I know how much work that takes. Like it's like constantly, like I'm working all the time. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I'm still putting in, you know, hours and hours till 4, 2, 3, 4 in the morning drawing. Like I'll work on my work, illustration work, and I'll go to an open mic. Really, open mic's my break. That's my 2-hour cigarette break, and then I go back like I left last night from the roast battle, and I went home and I animated for another 2 to 3. I was up till 3:30 animating, working, and that's the amount of time you got to put into something to be great at it. And,
I agree.
I don't, you know, so I imagine if somebody, because that's the number one thing that I want to do is animation and illustration. So if I see these comedians out here, these guys that are wanting to be stand-up comedians, and I'm looking at them, and I spend a good bit of time writing my comedy, not a lot, but why am I working as hard or harder than somebody that's their life goal?
That's
like, I shouldn't be working harder than the guy next to me whose dream is to be the stand-up comedian. I do, because I respect it, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to waste the audience time, even if it's an open mic, and I don't want to waste the open mic club runner, whoever's time, because when somebody goes up in an open mic, they're taking time away from another comic to go up there. So if I go up there and I'm just horsing around, I'm taking away time that is somebody that really wants to be a stand-up comic could go and use that time. So I respect it, and I put the work in, and if I get bigger in comedy, that's fine, but I know what it takes. And, you know, imagine, you know, any of these guys, if I think about this all the time, if they put in the number of hours into writing their comedy, rewriting, that I put in when I'm drawing, they would explode. They would be huge. Like, I don't know, I can't say this for certain. I feel like Kevin Eggleston works really hard and writes all the time.
Dude, that's a very hard one.
That guy really works hard. That's the one guy I know that you can just tell. I think you're just right. Sweaty a lot. I don't know, but you know,
I think you're right in a lot of ways.
Do you think any of these comedians last night went home and worked on writing their comedy till 2 to 3 in the morning? Because most of them were out back hanging out, which is fine.
I wasn't even on this show. I wrote 5 roast jokes.
Nice.
That's
right.
See, the difference is when I do like a show like that in Indy, it's an hour drive, like an hour plus drive for us usually to do the shows, which is fine. One of the reasons why we go on Wednesdays is because we can hit 2 mics, and the hardest thing for us, like if you seen me 2 years ago and then you saw me recently, you might be like, this guy, but I'm always writing. He's always writing. We'll leave a show and talk about jokes that were made or things that we did, and kind of like dissect it and do like a post-mortem, and then we'll talk about new jokes, talk of tags to each other. And I think one of the things that I will say, like if comics are doing the roast, first off, roasts to me, it's an exercise in joke writing, but a very specific version of it. Because you're writing jokes about somebody that you'll probably never use again in any other setting. So it is kind of like you're just pissing in the wind, because it's just gonna. So afterwards, I feel like there is this like sense of the second most important part of comedy after writing and performing would be the networking, because you don't get shows by not talking to people. I talk to people all the time, like especially our people, because we have a stable of comics in Kokomo that do Kokomo mics, and that's all they've really done. And really in their head, what they're trying to do is build up enough material that when they go to these open mics, in their head, they're like, I'm going to do my good stuff so that these people who've never met me are going to be like, oh, this guy's funny, and then maybe book shows that way. And that's how we book people. We book people all the time because that's one of the things we talked about. I was talking about with you and Ricky Abraham was the fact that a lot of these mics, you get like 5 minutes and it's like not even enough time to really settle in and do. But if you can get 10 to 15, it changes the entire grand scheme of things.
That's the one thing first of all, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Hearthstone because he put Chip Diller as host of his show,
and that's
so
a character of you. Yeah.
But
I thought.
Kevin does kind of listen because I talked to him last week about that. We were talking about that very subject, and he actually changed it. When I talked to Kevin last time, I said, "Hey, Kevin, there's not a lot of mics where comics get to see what 10 minutes is like. What about if you put one comic a week on for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
So they could experience that." And he did that. So starting this next Monday, there's going to be one comic each week at Mucky's that's going to be able to.
So Sean, what do we do at our mic? What have we been doing for 14 months at our mic? At the end of every show, we have somebody headline, and they get longer than they get 10.
They get 10.
We have a headliner every show, like whoever it is, we give them 10.
Right.
So, like when we talk to you about it, when we do shows, when we do our showcases at different bars, like we have different bars that we've done through. We've done Gas City, we've done Science Project Brewing in Logansport. We've done shows here, obviously with the Coopers, and then
Gas
we did
City,
Dunkirk, Be Here Now in Muncie. We've done a lot of shows. What we typically do is we'll have like a host that does 5, and then everybody else on the show does it's like 10 feature headliner.
Nice. That's smart.
Because that gives people that have been doing the work more time to settle. Right. And the host typically gets more than 5 because what they do is they'll do shit in between, like do bits in between, which is like the host job.
That's great.
You get the most face time with the crowd, kind of, because you're going up there. But at the same time, you don't get up front. You start with 5 and then you'll do. So that's how we do our shows. We switch to about 5 to 6 comics per show with a host, 2 10 minutes of 15, and then like a 30.
That's fun. Yeah. That's a great
it gets everybody kind of in. And we booked a lot of great comics from Indy, from Fort Wayne, comics from all over. KJ's done one of our shows, KJ Weaver, who I know you know. Yeah. We worked with Lucas Waterfill. He's done it. Dan Alton from Louisville, very funny guy. We worked, Pat Murray's done a couple of shows with us. Julie Heckman out of Fort Wayne, Cam Cooper. Like we've kind of, so one of the big things for me going to these mics isn't just like, oh, I want to get up, but that's part of it because I want to see. One of the biggest problems with our mic is we get a lot of people that don't know comedy. Like we actually draw a crowd. Like it's kind of different because in our small town, like we were able to draw a crowd. A lot of times, and there are a lot of comics in there, but there's also, and it depends on the night. Some nights are better than others. I've been to it
a couple of times, and you guys get good crowds in there.
We get people that aren't comics, and that's a big deal because like I've gone to mics in Indy, and this isn't like a shot, and I hope they don't take it this way, but like you'll go to a mic in Indy, and it'll be just your
3 people.
You're doing a comedy for comics,
right?
And you don't really get an accurate assessment of your material around comics as much because comics are all thinking with their comic brain. Right. They're like, I would have done this, or I would have.
Right. Or they're looking at their own set, or they're writing,
or they're worried,
writing another joke, or they're outside smoking, which is
part of it.
Yeah, that's fun.
But I'm from the school of belief that I think you need that. I think you need to go to those mics where nobody's going to really be paying attention because you need to build up that in yourself where if things don't go good, you're not going to fold.
That callous.
Right. You got to perform. And that's one thing I don't like about some comics. And again, I'm ragging on comics, but sometimes I have some like, what are you doing? Like, and it's, if you're not if your goal is not to be a professional comic or a headliner or something big, I don't care. But most of these guys, I think they want to be professional comics, then why aren't you being professional? Yeah. Like there's a thing about you're a professional because you're getting paid to do it. Yeah. But then there's being professional, which is regardless of whether you're paid. Yeah. And I see a lot of like, if you only get 5 minutes, why are you going up there horse dicking around for 5 minutes with, what can I say next? Fucking be prepared. Like it's not that hard to say, okay, I get it. It's a mic in Indy, and there's 3 people that I've seen every week that are comics. But go up there like you've got your set together, and you're not digging through your notes like, I want to try this. Like, do that 10 minutes before your set. Go, what am I going to do next? And figure it out. It's not that hard. Yeah, to go I completely agree. And just go up there and be, on it every time because
so when you go up, Sean, when you go up, do you have, so I have this thing, a system I call trigger words. I just call them trigger words because it makes sense for me. I'll have like a trigger word section and I'll go click my trigs into where I want them to be in the, it's trigger, by the way. I put them in there and that's a stupid joke.
You can't say that in the ER. It's
trigger words. But yeah, I put like the words just so, and I'll be able to look down and be like, oh, I'm going to that bit. And they just get me into the bit so I know where I'm going. And I do see a lot of comics go up there and they're like scrolling. And I'm like, you don't have, I mean, I know if you just wrote it that day, you might need a little more help, but just I would rather you hold the phone in your hand up to the microphone and read if you're doing a brand new joke than I would you being like, what do I
don't get that because I'm like 56 and old, and how can I remember this and other people can't?
I'm like
old guy can remember stuff. Like
I have a horrible memory.
I'm a big old school comedy fan, so to me it's like it's got to be professional. We've been me and Brian have gotten into
me and you. We talked about it.
I believe in I write like silly little names for my jokes.
Right.
So I take an index card up to the stage. It has the name for each joke.
Right. Same.
I set it there. I know what joke comes next. I don't like the phone. I don't
do the phone at all.
I know. You got a book, right? Do you have a booklet?
I never use it though.
No? Okay.
I have a book because I draw on it.
Okay.
I have a notebook and then I have half sketches and half bits.
I write everything on my phone.
I do what you guys do. I have a word.
Yeah, like a trigger word.
A trigger word.
That's what I call it, yeah.
But most of the time, the only time I have to look at my notepad is if there's something that I wrote like 20 minutes before. Yeah. Which is one thing I like about hosting is because I like to, like, I'm not as, I like the last minute jokes that I write. Mm-hmm. Like I told a joke about Cole Peterson last night about the sheet.
Yeah, that was funny.
There was a projector and they were projecting the image onto a white sheet. And I said, it's funny they're going to project Cole Peterson on a white sheet because normally he wears a white sheet.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was one of those, like, I like those roast kind of jokes that I come with on the spot, which is why I like hosting because then I can kind of riff on somebody after their set or right before their set.
Well, that's something that we've talked about in the past because like hosting is a whole different beast. Yeah. You have to, I mean, people always look at hosting as like the youngest person or the person with the least experience starts and it's like, honestly, that's a bad formula. You almost want somebody who...
You want somebody good who can bring the crowd together at the beginning and bring them up and keep them in it if there's a comic that doesn't bring the laughs or you know, because sometimes a comic goes up and they don't do that well. Yeah. Then you need somebody that can bring them back.
Yeah,
I agree.
And just random things like, "How you guys doing good tonight?" Like that simple. It's something like that. Oh yeah, make sure you tip your bartender. Take care of your servers. Blah blah blah. Hey, you've been having a fun show. Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, your next person. It's like real simple stuff, but like the energy of the conversation. You don't want to just be up there and being like, yeah, so your next comment, it can disrupt the show that way. One of the things we've talked about is playing the balance game between, okay, this comic just did really well. Do I need to say something or can I just keep the momentum going? Versus that comic maybe didn't do as hot. Maybe I got to play off of something and kind of get them back. And that's something that you're just talking about, like winning the crowd back for the next comic to come out. I'm not great at hosting, but I kind of go by, like you said, like if the comic finishes and kills, I just go up and say, wow, that was great. Yeah. Awesome job, whoever. And then I bring on the next comic. Yeah, keep it going for.
Right, keep it going for. But if it's somebody that, if they need brought back, then I'll try to push up with the joke.
I think it, like last night, Maya rolled with the punches. I just want to give a shout out to Maya Smith. She's a Kokomo girl, lovers. We booked her. Okay. She's actually from here and started comedy there and found out we did comedy and was like, I want to come back and done our mic and stuff and our families come out. I've done Windfall with her. We did Kokomo when we did the Halloween show. Very funny. Red Riding Hood. She dressed up last night again as a comic in the area as Ouija and got to mess with Cole and Cole didn't fucking show up.
Again.
Had a different show. So, but very, very funny. A ton of funny jokes. Very funny. Her delivery, the goofiness with the Ouija stuff. So definitely a huge shout to her. I think she told me at one point that she took a class to learn how to host.
Oh, really?
Which is very interesting to me to take a class to learn how to host, because I can give you 5 pointers right now and you're done. Like
Right.
it's a really simple hosting. I sometimes does people act like it's brain surgery, or like it's something difficult, and it's like really simple. Keep the energy up, like we said, and it is interesting. Like the people. You can bring somebody up who's very, very good and has a lot of energy, and then you put them in the hosting position, and they're just flat.
There is something to it,
and not overdoing it, which is a big deal. A lot of people
I've had, Dion gave me some pointers after I hosted.
Dion Curry, right?
Yeah. He basically told me not to insult the comics before I bring them up, which I'm like, that's my whole thing. I get it. He's right. I should be like, saying this person's great, and getting the crowd into him, but I don't know. To
Bob's going up there being like, the next comic sucks. Yeah. Here you go.
I wasn't that bad, but I did say, I think. So we had a comic, one of the last comics come up, I forget his name, funny comic around here, one of my friends. And I basically introduced him and said, finally, we got a real comedian, somebody that'll make you laugh.
Yeah.
Compliment him and that's what Dean was like, no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
It's like, but at this point, nobody's listening. But he's right. You gotta have to be, and that's the one thing. It's like, it's hard for me not to roast a comic.
Maybe that's what maybe you should talk to Kevin and be the next host. Because this might be the perfect avenue for you to be able to roast the person coming up. It might be the right move.
I don't know if you're not supposed to roast the person, but I don't feel like that. I honestly don't think that roasting a comic alienates the crowd.
No.
Now, if I said this next comic is a piece of shit and he's not funny, go smoke a cigarette. Yeah.
Your next comic is a piss break, ladies and gentlemen. Piss break. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you're just making a joke at their expense, I think the crowd likes that, especially if it's an entry level.
Prevalence of comedy in the zeitgeist of like the internet and the way that people consume it now, and then the prevalence of roasts in general, not just roast battles, but roasts. I think that the crowd is a little more in the know when it comes to, they know what you're doing a little bit. So I can understand where Dion's coming from, because if you being like, oh, this next guy's actually funny, you're going to be in for a treat like that. Listen, forget everything you've heard tonight. You're actually going to be laughing now. Here you go. That might be tough.
That's pretty much what I said, but it wasn't like I was saying anything the crowd didn't already know.
But then he's like, now I got to book these people again, and they're gonna be like, please don't book me with the guy that insulted me.
Well, this was an open mic. It wasn't like an actual, I wouldn't do that at a show. I would.
Yeah, that's some good context to know, because I'm like, I'm imagining you like in the helium in the main room, like, who's we on next? Fucking Max. Max Wentworth's not funny. Here, I
actually think that would actually be funny if the guy was like his whole shtick was just a negative comic. I'd love to watch a host like that. Oh, great! What, are you fucking kidding me? This guy again?
Yeah. Let me rephrase. I said Max Wampler because I just saw him open for Jay, and he was very funny. I'm just joking. He's very funny. But there's a lot of I've met a lot of the comics in the indie scene, and it is very interesting. Like when you go to Liberty Street, like Cole's Mike, and it's like I looked around. Like one time I'm in there, I'm looking around, and I'm like, literally everybody in here is a comic. And then one time I went in there, and it was like everybody's in there comics except for one person. It was the person I brought, and I'm like, God damn. But that's tough mentally. I think it has to be tough. I think it does. There's a positive aspect to it. Like you said, you got to be good in a room full of your peers. There's also, I think there's a negative aspect to doing those types of mics too much, because what happens is you're starting to play to the comics who are not your mean audience. Your mean audience is not wanting to hear like 5 layers of jokes about a comic they just heard 3 minutes ago. Like they want to hear. So, but I think we talked about this before, is being able to flex both muscles, being able to like. Because if I book a show, like I booked a feature show in Lafayette and did a feature for Dan Alton there. And when I was at that show, it's a different feel when I'm going up there knowing that I'm getting paid and I'm featuring, and I'm not there to like try to like LCD, at least common denominator, to try to get that person to laugh. So I'm going to find my audience members, and I'm going to hone in on them and try to get them to laugh. And I think those types of things are important as well, like kind of balancing both. Is there a mic in indie in your like estimation that you've gone to that feels a lot more like there is not a lot of comics, like not as comic heavy, but a lot of
I mean, the
audience?
one that's most like a show is the Helium open mic on Tuesday nights, but that was so hard to get on. That's
like 3 minutes, right?
It's 3 minutes, but it's a good 3 minutes. It's
You did the most recent one, right?
I did.
Yeah, I saw your name on the list. How'd it go? How'd you feel about it?
It was good. It was good. Dion got me on the list. That's the only reason. It's hard to get on. Like
Exciting things are happening at the Kokomo Press. Yeah, very exciting things. Not only are we bringing you comedy shows, an open mic once a week, skits, videos, funny jokes on our page, and satire news stories, but now you can support us by going to kokomopress.shop. It's that simple. You go to kokomopress.shop, you find a t-shirt, you find a hat, maybe in the future some stickers and some posters. You go on there, you buy one of those from us, and percentage of the proceeds will go to us and help support what we do. We appreciate every person who just likes, subscribes, does all that. But if you go to kokomopress.shop and you buy something, we'll know who you are. You send us a photo of it. We will post it on our page and shout it out. Thank you so much. Go to kokomopress.shop, buy all your shirts and hats needs, and support the Kokomo Press. Thank you guys so much. kokomopress.shop.
Yeah, when Dion gets me on the list, I'm on.
Yeah.
If I sign up online, I never
signed up 15 times. I've only done it twice.
Yeah, I've signed up. Yeah, it takes. Yeah, it's hard. I've been on. I got on 2 times just in general, and then when I took Dion's class, he would put me on every week that I had the class, and then this last time he put me on. So it's really hard to get on, but it's worth it if you can get on it. It is 3 minutes, but I like it because, like, sometimes, as you know, watching a comic for 5 minutes feels like a long time.
Yeah.
Not some of these mics you're going, but it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah, that's that.
And
to me, it's like you're an indie. If you get on that, it's like, woo, I just pop over there. For us, to me, it's like I got to drive, park downtown, do all that shit. And then at the end of the day, I'm like 3 minutes.
Yeah, but I still got to pay like $15 for parking. And then last time it cost me like $12 for 2 soda pops.
I was so lucky because when we
went,
went
$25 to go on a 3-minute open mic. I'm like,
you're paying
the math
money.
ain't mathing for me on that one.
Well, that's like, have you done Indie's Funniest? Have you done that?
I did, yeah.
How do you feel? I mean, I know you have to pay a fee. You're not sold on it?
I'm not. I don't know. I like doing it. I'm just not Indie's even mediocreist. Like,
I've done it twice. I like it because it's a full room.
I'm not mean enough. I think I'm too like old man comedy to like do well there. That's why I didn't do good at the roast. Is I'm just not mean enough.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I thought you were fun. I mean, you hit on a couple of pretty. Like
that was weird because
non-binary kid and wife.
That was weird.
Stuff.
Yeah, those were ones that like
they're funny.
Some of those were like I thought they were kind of weak. I was like the non-binary kid joke. I thought it was basically the joke. It was Terry has a child that came out as non-binary, but he really wants to be identified as not Terry's kid.
Yeah.
So, but to me, that's kind of a
I think you want to know why
pretty well.
You want to know why I think it didn't hit as hard? Because you said he. If you'd have said they, I think you would have sold it. Because like once they become a non-binary, I feel like that pronoun thing kind of slipped people up. Because they're like, whoa, hold on. Which is he talking about? Terry? Because I thought you were talking about Terry at first. I had to rethink it. Because when you say non-binary, you automatically think like they, them. Like that's their pronoun.
Right.
So but they really, if you'd have said they really want to identify as not Terry's kid, that's funny to me.
Could be. I just think it was kind of a mediocre joke.
I thought it was funny.
It was funny, but not enough. But it's not funny enough to win at a roast battle.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs to be roast battle. You got to be pretty brutal, and I'm just not mean enough. I think
brutal and clever. And the funny thing is, it's the same issue I have with like Kill Tony, kind of with the roast battles. But the roast battles are at least the time and place. But like if you've ever watched Kill Tony, it feels like they're like, okay, you're doing 1 minute of comedy, which is not enough to really know if somebody's funny. Like 5 minutes is hard enough to know. 3 minutes is hard enough, but 1 minute, and then on top of it, they're like I think people just decide like I'm going to go up and say the most offensive thing I can possibly say because I know it'll get a reaction. Even if I'm not funny, it'll get a reaction, and I'll be on the show. And and I think it has done negative things for comedy overall. Like there's positives parts of it. Like some people did get famous off of it, but also there's a negative thing because then as a person who's ran an open mic for the last 14 months, you get a lot of people that come up that are just like, I'm going to do a joke about rape, or I'm going to do a joke about race, or I'm going to do a joke about horrible things.
Yeah, they try to do edgy stuff just to get a reaction.
And that's not what comedy is. Comedy is clever.
Right.
You got to be clever.
Yeah, edgy's okay if you're funny, if it's funny.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, but at some roast battles, I don't think that's the case. I think I think the general audience doesn't care. Like here, I honestly don't think the audience cares if a joke tracks or makes sense. I think they just want to hear something that's mean.
Yeah.
And that's where you know, it's smart that, you know, you've got judges. Kevin's got you and Zach and those guys as judges, because you got comics judging it. So they're not only judging on, is it funny, but are they judging on, does that joke make sense?
Yeah. Is it clever? Is it?
Yeah. And, you know,
original?
I probably did say he instead of they. It was a slip. I don't even know, you know, what the child was originally born as.
I just
heard binary, but I didn't deliver it as good as I could have.
Yeah.
But that's what is, you know, is interesting about it is the judges.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you could just go up there and be like, Terry fucks goats in the ass for fun. And the crowd would laugh. But it's funny to say, but is it a joke? It's just saying something mean.
Well, I mean, that shepherd joke you had was funny.
Yeah, that one sort of made sense.
It made me laugh.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah, you guys also went relatively early.
Yeah. But we were an exhibition match, and I think that's part of, like, I've been really busy working on an animation project, so I didn't really write enough. Yeah. Like I should for that. So I wasn't, you know, it was just like, okay, what jokes do I have? I was like, okay.
So the people that moved on last night were Maya Smith, Evan Ham, Stratton Smith. Two Smiths there.
Is it? Okay.
The Smiths are there. And then there was one other person, and was it Patrick Eaton?
Patrick, yeah.
Yeah, those four moved on last night, so they're going to be in the final, right?
They're in the
finals, right?
Well, they're going to, I think what happens is those four will bracket down to one half, which is the equivalent of the East Coast, West Coast NBA deal. Yeah. And there's going to be another competition where they're going to have the same breakdown, and then so there'll be a winner. So they're going to battle for this winner, and then there's going to be another brackets with a winner, and then that's going to be the final one that gets to wear the belt, I think.
Well, Kevin, if you're watching, I want to throw my buddy Sean's hat in the ring, because I bet you he would love to do it.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Sean's a phenomenal joke writer. That's one of the reasons why I brought him with me last night. I'm like, you're coming with me and you're going to help me. No, like my favorite.
I want Chip Diller in the roast. I don't know if that's allowed since he's a fictional character, but
I don't think so. I think he could be able to.
You know what's funny is you were talking about Kevin's show about what was it, like karaoke and comedy, and you got confused. Yeah. So he put me on this Riffs Alive show. Yeah. Because I messaged him. He said he had opening. I was like, hey, put me on the Riffs Alive show. And he had seen me at Liberty Street doing these impressions. Yeah. And he messaged me back, said, yeah, you can do the Riffs Alive show, but you have to do a character. And so I misunderstood what he meant. Yeah. I think he wanted me to come and bring all my impressions and do the riff bucket with impressions. Yeah. But I thought he wanted me to come as a character. So that's when I created this character that's like Chip Diller, which is like, if you know Gary Shandling and Jerry Seinfeld and all these New Yorkie 80s comics, he's like a failed version of that with the jacket. So I went and did like 7 or 8 minutes riffing as this character. And that's just kind of where Chip came from. Yeah, Kevin might be one of the most, he's definitely one of the busiest guys. Like, with all the different shows he's doing, and he's very prolific, I guess is the right term for what he's doing. He just does so much. And he's the first guy. I want to go on his Blue show. I want to go on that Blue show that he does. Like, is it like dark humor? Like, no, it's like a fucking swingers club or something. He does. Oh shit! It's he told me one time I wasn't a dirty enough comic, and I'm like, dude, I made a movie about shit and dildos. I could probably. So that's funny. Yeah. I mean, what constitutes a dirty? I don't know, I don't know that. When I did my set there, I didn't bomb by any means, but when I did my set there, I have a lot of jokes that are racial and a lot of and I don't like bad racial. Like I don't like at the Monsters Inc. show. Yeah. At the comedy karaoke show, because that's technically Kevin's the first person. This one was though the dirty one is at a swingers club. Yeah, so I think there's swingers in there, but I've swung before. I could probably. But I mean, I feel like I don't know how dirty it'd have to be, you know. Funny is funny, but yeah. So how'd you do at the Riffs Alive show? You did that?
No, I did the comedy karaoke. Okay. So that was the first one you had me do, and it was basically like 8 minutes or 10 minutes. You did 10 minutes set. I went up there, I did my stuff, but like I feel like a lot of times, like I had a couple of jokes that are kind of jokes at the expense of a couple of women. Like I have a Caitlin Clark joke, which is funny, but it puts it on me. Like it makes me into the creep. And so like I made sure to like put it on me.
I don't know if I've heard the Caitlin Clark joke.
I did it, I think, at Fountain Square like last week. The last time I was at Fountain Square, I did it, but I think you might have been outside at that point. But I did like a joke. It's basically just like I'm a huge basketball fan, and you know, I think Caitlin Clark's the GOAT. Like, I think she's the greatest of all time. Yeah. And the reason why I think is not the reason why you think. The reason I think she's the greatest of all time is because I had a sex dream about her.
Yeah. Oh, that's I remember that.
Yeah. And it doesn't make me a good person. It makes me a bad person. Like, you know, but like, you know, it's just, I've never been able to have sex with a basketball player that I actually respect. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the joke. It's because they're all men. It's a stupid
joke. But I had a Caitlin Clark joke, but I never told it.
No?
Because I was like, I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to be like, it was me, not mean, but like my joke was, this was back when she finished college, like Caitlin Clark became the highest scoring female basketball player. But to be fair, she scored all those points against women. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a very sexist joke, so I never really did it.
You should do it.
Yeah,
I should, you know, at this point, you know, who cares?
I did that joke at that show, and I did a couple, because I have a joke that's basically about how the setup is I have the type of face that people like to say weird shit to.
Yeah.
Because I get people say racist shit to me all the time. I don't know what it is. I think
because you work in a factory.
Well, one of the even the black guys say racist shit to me. So it's like, what the hell? But the one of the main you know tags in it is I must have resting clan face, and like that's something that like I put out. But it's like a whole story, and it starts one place and it ends with the same character doing another. It's a pretty wild story. But I told that joke, and I feel like sometimes when I string together a couple of those jokes, because I did the Michael Jackson one as well about how I learned about racism, and when I string them together, white people start to get like worried. White people clamp up. And the funny thing is, after the show, like all the white women were like, oh, but after the show, all the brothers came up to me and were like, hey man, that was really funny. Like the brothers loved it.
So it's almost never the crowd that you think. You know, it's like the Native Americans are not mad about the Cleveland Indians. It's all old white people that are mad about it. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not saying it's the most enlightening logo, but I don't think they cared as much as the old white people.
Yeah.
That's one of those things, like how do you discern how far to go with a joke and decide, well, this is too mean, or this is too racist, or this is too sexist, you know?
Yeah, and where you're coming from with it, and you're at a comedy show.
You know it's a comedy show, but you also have to decide that. You have to go, well, maybe I shouldn't say this, or then like also like, what do you tell a joke about your family, and how mean can I be about, you know, can I, you know,
or
can I say this about my dad or my friend, or you know,
I actually have a joke that my dad stopped talking to me for a while.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. Like, I don't want you know, it's one of those things. Like, I don't want my parents to pass away, but when they do, I got a boatload of jokes.
Oh yeah, I can start hitting.
They'll be like,
what's the joke? What was the joke that your dad said?
So my dad was 16 years old when I was born, so we kind of grew up together. Other kids would go to their dads on the weekend, and they'd take them hunting and fishing. Our weekend activities were staying up to the wee hours of the morning while he got stoned like a biblical whore and playing Madden.
Yeah.
My dad was a funny guy. He used to call his bong his favorite son. At least that's the only son he put his mouth on.
Yeah, and that's the one.
That's funny.
That's the one he got. He's like, don't say that about me. That's funny though.
My sister was like the big uproar, and then I went over to her house and I sat her down and I was like, okay, here's the clip from the joke. What part is offensive to you?
Oh yeah.
She's like, well, you're trying to say that your dad molested you.
It's like the
not
opposite.
Her dad, and I'm like, no, I'm saying he might not have been the greatest dad,
but he didn't. Yeah, that's the opposite. It's the opposite joke. It's weird how people will like associate the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Like I have a joke about my mom, and where I basically say that, like, because she's the naked mom growing up, and like I had to deal with that, and it's a joke about like it devolves into an Arby's joke, you know what I mean? Vagina's out, and like it's really stupid. And I sent it to my mom. I was like, "What do you think about this?" And she's like, "I don't care." She doesn't. She likes it,
right?
But then she came to the show, and I was doing jokes, and I looked over, and she was like, "Don't do jokes about me." And I was like, "Mom, I'm gonna do it with you in the building. You've already approved the joke. You don't get to disapprove the joke."
Right.
So I did it with her sitting there, and it ended up getting a big laugh because, you know, when you see her in there and she's hanging out, it's funny, you know what I mean? But to me, there is like, I have that joke about that Brian joke too, where it's like, I'm like, it sucks doing comedy in your hometown because you're like afraid to talk about certain things. So it's like, I want to tell the story about my friend who sat on a D battery and moaned. Yeah. But then I don't want to upset Brian. So like the joke is making, he's the one that fucking,
I always try to
shit like that.
figure out, what I do is I try to say, is there a way I can flip this joke and make it about me? Yeah. Because my wife, for a while, would snore because she has sleep apnea or something. So she had to get a thing like CPAP, which happens. So, you know, rather than make a joke about, oh, my wife snores like a wildebeest. Yeah. You know, I'm like, I'll flip it like, man, I snore like a wildebeest. Or, you know, I try to take any of those things that I think would offend somebody that I know or care about, and if I can flip them on me, then I think that works better. Because then you're not shitting on somebody else.
People like self-deprecation.
Self-deprecation.
I completely agree. I've seen it a lot, but it's also sometimes, depending upon how your set is built, it would be better if it's the other person.
It is, right.
Like I have I lost 70 pounds, and I actually had sleep apnea, but I never got the machine. That's one of the tags that I have for that joke, is that like I had sleep apnea, you know, which is a really cool way of your body trying to kill you in your sleep. Like you're trying to kill it. Like I would like wake up choking. That's one of the reasons why I was like so serious about losing weight.
How'd you lose? I've lost 60 pounds since I started comedy.
Get the whole crowd involved.
Somebody was I was hanging out with Max Wampler and
very funny guy. Love him.
Dion and Cole and some people, and we're talking, and Max didn't recognize me. And then he showed a picture of me from my Facebook from like 8 years ago, and Dion's like, I don't know this guy.
Yeah. So he knows you.
Weight. So you lost a lot of weight too, and I can understand that because I work for the Indians, and there's a guy named Patrick that works out the gift shop, and my daughter got hired to work in the gift shop. And so we go there for the first day to work, and I'm like, I know Patrick. I've known him for years. And he walks up, starts talking to her, and I'm like, who was that?
Who the hell is that guy?
That was Patrick. I'm like, that's not Patrick.
No, that's Pat.
He lost a lot of weight. Yeah,
that's Rick. So, that's either Pat or Rick. That's not Patrick.
I just low carb. That's all I do.
I've done this weird. I had a stupid joke about yo-yo dieting for a while that nobody liked, but I have this yo-yo problem where I would do like keto, and I would do fasting, and I would do all this stuff, and finally I just said fuck it, and I said hard work, so diet, exercise, and Wegovy. You decide which one. But I started with the Wegovy thing because I was kind of like,
I don't even know what that is.
It's a shot you take once a week.
It's like,
and it's just it's a hormone shot. So it's basically I look at it kind of like the shot for women for what they don't want to have a baby. But you basically just shoot your stomach up with this specific type of hormone called a semaglutide, and it just makes your stomach feel full. It slows your digestion so that you don't feel so hungry, because the brain to stomach conversation, it's so slow. It takes them forever. It's like you're listening to somebody, you know, with a stutter. Yeah. It's like your brain's like waiting for your stomach to be like, I'm full, and your stomach's just down there like in slow-mo. So this just kind of gets you so you feel full quicker, and then it kind of gets you in the mode where you lose enough weight that like you can start doing the things like working out, because a lot of times you get too big that you can't go to the gym without hurting yourself. Right. And or like you can't really, you know, you can't put the work in the way you want to. So now I'm at the weight that I'm at the gym 5 times a week, swimming 1,500 yards, and hitting the sauna, and I'm going hardcore now, like with my workouts, to the point where like now I'm sore all the time, but it's in my shoulders. It's kind of funny,
but that's true. It's like I'm finally skinny enough to go to the gym.
It's the truth.
I was too fat to go to the gym
I was too
before.
Fat before.
Like now, I'm at a point now where I can actually sort of run.
Yeah, and that's hard.
Like running,
when you put on, 60 pounds, you said.
Yeah,
it's a ton to take off on your knees.
65. Your joints. And it's mostly, it's low carb. When I found out about low carb, and it's like, well, I can eat eat hot wings every day, all day. That'll work. So
yeah, hot wings I love that.
That was just like, that's my whole diet is, it's hot wings, almonds, and string cheese. It's the weirdest fucking diet.
We'll get you on that show, the hot ones. You'll be good because you're like, oh, this is my daily regimen here. Yeah. It's my workout routine.
It has the double value of like the low carb, and then the hot sauce blows the shit out your ass.
Oh yeah, and then you don't want to eat for a minute.
Yeah. So, but
what's the deal with asshole pain? What's the deal with that?
That's pretty much how my riff goes. I'll pull it out and it's butthole pain. Man, that's the deal with asshole pain. Hey, or something. But yeah,
I love that because like it's one of those things where like I did when I was doing keto, that's what I did was traditional wings with a ton of medium sauce, because you can have ranch on keto, so I'm just smashing, and then string cheese and like jerky and like just meats, meats and cheeses. Are you kidding me? Just just throw the cracker away because
I get a bit about that whole diet, weird diet, how you rip off pizza and you take the cheese and you stick it on your face like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's funny.
What's so you've been doing comedy for how long?
6 years. Yeah.
So what I like to ask people, like, what's the oldest joke they still tell? I mean, that's not a long time to still have a joke, to be honest, but so the funny thing is the oldest joke I still tell is one of my closers, and I went back and fixed it because when I originally started doing the joke, it wasn't the way it's weird because we've talked about this all the time about how we're much better writers 6 years later than we were when we started. So you can go back through your notes from a long time. That's what I'm doing. I'm fixing, bringing up.
We do that too.
I'm bringing up old jokes. People will be like, "Hey, that's a new bit." I'm like, no, it's been in my notebook for 8 years. It didn't work 8 years ago. Maybe now
I'm finally good enough that I can make it work.
Figure out how to make it work. And it's either changing the words or the act outs or something. But the reason I watched the last Norm Macdonald special, and he does this joke about biting his tongue.
Is this the internet one, like where it was all on the internet, or is it the one where he's actually live doing it? Because he did one during the COVID that was like.
No, this is the last one. He was alive.
So the
it was
Hitler dog or something like that.
Yeah.
Very good.
He does the joke about biting his tongue.
Yeah.
And I'd remembered that joke because he did that joke. I remember watching him do that joke like pre-Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Like when he was on those half-hour comedy HBO things.
Premium Blend.
And I was like, that is a fucking 40-year-old joke. And it's still great. So that just makes, that's why I always wonder that. And I asked Kevin Nealon, I met Kevin Nealon, and I asked him that.
So funny.
Because
he's so funny.
He's great. And especially these comics have been a long time. You want to know, like, what is the oldest joke you still tell? Because generally, as you progress, I mean, I haven't been doing it long enough to progress that far, but somebody that's, obviously, Kevin's been doing it for 45 or 50 million years, however long since, and so they're, they evolve and they do more jokes, so how far back do they go back and grab one of those old ones that were still gold?
I go back.
Early stuff is
with the iPhone, just being able to, I write. So I'm not a book guy. I can't. My brain. I'm weird because I'm weird. I need to be able to erase. So if I write it in a booklet and I have to erase with a pen or a pencil, by the time I do all that, I've lost my momentum. I don't know why.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I can't
erase. I got to start a whole new page.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. My mind doesn't work like that. Once I'm erasing and because I'll start a joke. Then read it and be like, oh, I need to flip that. And it's way easier to do and in my phone than on a booklet.
Oh, I just start, that's the thing. I'll just, new page.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I hate is when I mess up the order and I get it. Like, I hate the weirdest thing. Like, I hate wet grass. That's another thing I hate. You're walking. I just hate wet grass. And the other thing I hate is when an over easy egg breaks before it's cooked. That ruins my day. My whole day is shot. If you're cooking the egg and the yolk breaks.
I'm just imagining you being like, get ready to flip it, it breaks, and you're like, I'm going back to bed.
Okay, fuck this egg. I just start over.
Yeah, give me another one.
That's the same
nowadays,
with the paper. Like, I just flip the page and
thousands of dollars you're throwing away with the egg every day. You're gonna
it is.
Now. It's pretty bad.
I haven't really figured out the best way to write all my jokes down. I have some in my phone. I write my sets out sometimes in a notebook, but I end up drawing in it. So I think for me, my comedy book is it's going to have to be a sketchbook comedy book.
Yeah.
Because I can't not draw.
Equal parts.
It's just that's because I'm constantly drawing. That's what I do. Like when I'm not on the stage, I'm drawing or writing a joke. And so inevitably there will be drawings in my notebook. So I might as well not even fight it. I might as well just, have it all in one.
That makes sense.
True.
And it might be cool in the future to like just have that to like hand down to like somebody. Like, look at this. Check this out. I know for me, the oldest joke I had was the original premise started with, when you break up with somebody after a long period of time, the whole point afterwards is to win the breakup. So the joke was, how do you win the breakup? And then now it's known as Chris. Which just tells you how different it can be. Yeah. But now it turned into a whole bit about how every girl I date ends up dating or marrying or having a kid with a guy named Chris right afterwards, and how I have to, if I ever date somebody, I have to make sure that they can't ever meet anybody named Chris. Like my fiance, her boss at work's named Chris, and the joke is I go in there and I stare at him every Saturday, and I'm just like, you better stay away from my fiance, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
But it's like a stupid. That joke started as because my ex of like 6 years, she had 2 daughters I raised from, and then now I'm not even allowed to see it. It's crazy, like the whole concept. But it started with like she was dating a guy, and it's like we're trying to win the breakup. So I started dating somebody afterwards. She starts dating somebody. Which one's gonna last longer? And I'm like, hey, I won. Yeah. That was a joke. I won. Yeah. They broke up. I'm like, okay, I guess they didn't break up. What actually happened was he died in a car accident.
Yeah.
it's like I was with her 6 years, and he was with her 6 months. It took me 6 years to see the red flags. He didn't see that red light. So it's like a real dark joke.
Yeah.
It started there, but then I evolved it, and I still do that.
Dark. I think a lot of comics start out really dark.
I mean, I don't think I started off dark. I think I was trying way too hard in the beginning to do a brand of comedy I can't do, which is like one-liners. I'm not a one-liner guy. I can't. Yeah. I have a couple that I write that I sprinkle into my sets.
That's why I do Chip Diller. I can throw all my one-liner jokes to Chip Diller.
Yeah, and it's like
it works for him.
You get a rhythm too, and I can't. Like Brian doesn't have one-liners necessarily. My buddy Brian, but all his jokes are kind of like he can string some of them together, but they're not chunks. They're just bits, and then he's done, and bits, and he's done. And it's all part of like almost like this character that I like to call. He's basically, I just always say he's a piece of shit. Like on stage, he's just the worst person. Like that's the character. I don't even think he knew he was doing that. But
boy, Evan Hammond's had a string of one-liners right there. Those the Goldilocks and the Little Red Riding Hood jokes. Those 2 or 3 right in a row were just like boom, boom, boom.
Oh yeah.
I mean, those were killer.
Yeah, he took the meanness of a roast and went hardcore.
And it was funny because she's one of the nicer comics too. Because if you saw the roast, did you see the roast before between her and Soul?
I watched the first round. Yeah,
that was like I told him afterwards that was the nicest roast battle I've ever seen. It was
and then
precious moments roast.
It was funny because I watched the full video because I wanted to. If I'm going to roast or if I'm going to judge the next round, I need to know the first round.
It was almost like, oh, so Heil, you're so handsome, you can only get 3 women to date you. Burn. Like whatever.
When you die, you'll only get 62 virgins.
That's right.
Something like that. Like, but it was so nice, very interesting. He's from Bloomington, right? He's a Bloomington guy.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, very funny. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed her. I thought she was funny last night, and I honestly think if she went against almost anybody else in that, she would have won. But the problem was she went against the guy that was an absolute savage that just decided to. Patrick was really tough too, Stratton. Yeah. I'm worried for Maya in the next round. I think she can be mean. I'm hoping she's ready to be mean.
I don't know who she's. Do they know who she's going up against? Have they decided? It's one of those 3.
That's a good question.
There are three heavy hitters. I mean, she is too. But I think
she's probably the newest comic in the group. Right? She's only been doing comedy about a year.
Yeah,
like probably. A little over a year. Yeah. Like almost as long as we've been doing the mic.
Right. Yeah.
Because she started. She said right before we started doing the mic.
Yeah, she's funny though.
And she puts a lot of work in. She shows up to things. She gets shows. She works.
Well, that's
hard.
what I'm saying is that's when you can tell when the comics are working on it. And I'm not saying they don't all do, but
she's a scientist.
But
she's fucking she's in the lab. She's in the lab working.
Right. Probably doing comedy now.
When you're doing caricatures,
we fucked up the chemistry, but I got a great joke.
She's like, hey, I'm losing my job, but I'm really funny. I promise. So when you're doing like the caricatures and stuff, do you ever come up with a bit in your head or observe something that like, I got to write that down?
I do. Sometimes I do. If it's a situation that happens with a joke that I can do with a caricature.
Yeah.
But sometimes, those they're drawn bits.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's like somebody comes up and draw me as a basketball player, and then it's like, okay, how can I turn this into? I don't write it necessarily as a joke, but it's like, what can I? Because I don't want to just draw some guy dribbling a basketball. That's boring. I do that sometimes when I'm, busy. But, what's the funny? How can I make this funny? Is it maybe the basketball's bouncing off his head? Maybe the basketball is his kid's head is the basketball. What funny can I make about this? So that's when I do a caricature that way. It's like, how can I make this funny and different than what is just a generic drawing of a guy playing baseball or basketball or dancing? Or
where do your bits come from then? Like, so like when you go to write a bit, is it from your past? Is it something that's happening in the moment? Like, what do you think the majority
is either like something that happens, or I see a sign. Like I was like on the way up, I saw a sign for Vaughn Walmsley, this fucking lawyer or something. So I'm driving and I kind of look at it, and the sign said Vaughn wins. That's his whole thing. But I looked at it, and for some reason, because it's VAGUH or whatever, and my brain, I read it as vagina wins, and I was like, hey, vagina wins. Of course it does.
Of course.
So that's the kind of the things, like the bits come from either things that it's mostly observational things that I see. That's pretty much where they all come from.
What about you?
I approach it differently. For me, some are things that have happened in my life. But then there's sometimes where I just be like, you know what? This is in the news, or this is a subject people are talking about. Let's see if I can make an observation on it. Now, when I do stand up, my stand up is a character. Sean D is a character.
Yeah.
If you've seen me at mics, I'm very reserved. I'm very quiet, awkward.
Yeah.
But on stage, I am not.
Are most comics like that? I don't know.
He deals with us, so I think he's around us enough that it's probably we like slip the mean, like because Brian and I are both very like personable people. I like talking to people. I want to pick brains.
What time. I tell people, like for me, I was telling somebody else this, like when I'm on stage, it's the same as when I draw a caricature of somebody. Me on stage is just an exaggeration. It's not me. It's an exaggeration of me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not me. It's if I'm a kind of a lazy husband, then I'm a super lazy husband.
I'm the worst
stage.
husband. Yeah.
Or whatever it is. If I'm a fat, terrible golfer. Then I'm an extremely fat, horrible golfer. I'm actually okay at golf.
Yeah.
I could have been good if I can be good at golf if I put the time in, but
hey, ladies and gentlemen, he's terrible at golf. Don't listen to him.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around. He's like he's over here arguing his case.
Yeah, I used to shoot like mid 80s.
Yeah.
So that
didn't mean nothing to me.
I knew you wouldn't know.
I don't golf.
But, when you don't play a lot, and it becomes less of a priority. But I just try to exaggerate what I am on stage and try,
I do mid-60s.
And I try to bring as much energy as possible to the stage.
I do mid-60s, but that's all because there's only 9 holes at the mini golf. I'm like, I can get past the windmill. Yeah. And then I lie.
Right, that helps, yeah.
No, I play every other sport except for golf because I can't play a sport where I'm playing against like a course or myself.
That's the only golf. That's the only sport I can play.
Yeah, no basketball. You're not out there dribbling between your legs, dunking.
Play against other people. I have a good jump shot actually.
That's what he's talking about.
Like for real. Like I was really good because I grew up just nobody around out in the country. I had a great jump shot, but
you grew up in Indiana.
Yeah, I was like 5'7", so I got to high school and like people just be like put their hand up.
Yeah, that's it. You're done. I'm 5'7".
I can't.
I'm quick.
I couldn't jump. Everybody blocked me. I'm like, well, I'm done. I can't do that. So.
I've been this size since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
I had a really early growth spurt. So I was the tallest kid in like junior high.
For a while, yeah.
So I was like, played AAU basketball and all that. But then high school, everybody caught up and surpassed me.
Right, yeah.
That's why we were talking about that last night because it's funny to think like you peaked in basketball in middle school because of your height.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things where it's just like physical, like the physical. The way you're born informs, if somebody grows up and they're going to be 6'7", they're playing basketball.
Yeah. It's almost like, or if you're not good and you're tall, then it's almost like you actually get detracted. Like, my ex-wife is 6'2". I'm 5'7". My ex-wife's 6'2". She's tall as hell. And she always gets asked, like, do you play basketball? And she's like, no, I play softball. And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Softball?
Right.
That's what you're... And she's like, I'm just not... She's not coordinated whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have the coordination that most people would have for basketball. Like, she's not completely uncoordinated, but, like, basketball is just it's a different speed.
Yeah.
Whereas in softball, she'll get up there, smash the ball, catch a ball real quick and then throw it in, and then she can catch herself.
I work the IU basketball games, men's and women's, and literally the shortest player on the women's team is my height.
Yeah.
Like every one of them, all these girls are just like a foot taller than me. It's crazy.
6'2".
Yeah.
She's a monster. I watched her play basketball the first time, and I was like, man, she doesn't have it. Now my son plays ball, but I'm hoping he probably gets most of those skills from me, because I'm actually a pretty good. I'm so good at every sport, but I'm like mediocre at every sport. Like, I'm quick. I can catch really well. I can throw really well. I can shoot. I can do everything. Just enough to, like, make the team, but I'm never going to be starting in any. And that's football, basketball, baseball, soccer, any sport I've ever played.
But that's what I think I like about golf is I go to the driving range and there'll be some 6'5" athletic basketball guy out there that can hit the ball for shit.
Yeah.
And I'm driving it past him, a 56-year-old fat guy with gray hairs out driving this superior athlete because he doesn't know how to hit the ball right.
And you're looking over and I'm like,
what equalizes,
can I play through? Or
it's like that sort of equalizes the playing field because,
Yeah.
I mean, there is an advantage to probably being tall, being athletic to golf if you can hit the ball right.
Yeah.
If you
it might be a disadvantage because because how much you're. I guess
the height. Yeah.
If you don't have a great swing.
Yeah, if you don't have a great swing, but.
Are you excited for the new Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, probably be funny. I don't know. I like Shooter McGavin. Hopefully that guy's in a lot.
Yeah, I think he's going to be.
Adam Sandler's funny.
Oh yeah.
So,
do you think he's going to have Drew Carey in it?
Sorry.
You think he'll have Drew Carey in it? Well, the first one he had Bob Barker, and Drew Carey's now the price. Do you think Drew Carey will be in it? That'd be funny.
Idea.
That'd be a funny bit.
Possible,
I think.
You lost me for a minute. I forgot that Drew Carey did the prices. That's funny.
Yeah, he does.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like a couple layers.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
We have a comic that comes through. He's actually a magician named Dean Bootcheck. He's really very funny. But he does like bits in between his doing a magician stuff. And one of his bits is when people see me on stage, they think, damn, that Drew Carey would let himself go again, because he does kind of look a little bit like a bigger joke.
So does he do it? Does he do a joke and then he does magic, or like? So like
he'll be like, so in between he'll be like, so blah 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 blah,
right?
And then he'll do the trick, and then he'll be like a couple jokes, and then he'll do another trick or something. Yeah,
my friend Tim Ingersoll, who's actually a really good animator, worked for Disney and DreamWorks. He started doing stand up 3 or 4 years ago, and he comes to mics with me. But he's a good magician. Yeah, and I keep telling him that he should bring some of those magic tricks.
You can,
to comedy, but he won't do it.
I think we've had 3 magicians.
3 magicians come through.
3 magicians come through to do the open mic, because like they don't have a lot of opportunities. You know what I mean? Yeah. To like do an open mic.
But if you can work the magic into the comedy, I think that's all part of the entertainment.
Check your butthole.
Crowd.
Oh my! Hold on! Hold on! Oh no! And he just pulling on, like it's one of those long, like you keep pulling it out. Right, it gets browner as it goes. Oh no! Like the bit would be funny. Yeah. No, that I love it. We had a comic or a magician on this program a couple times. Jim Turnpal, very fun, funny, very interesting guy. Not a comic necessarily, but I think a lot of magicians do incorporate a little bit of humor into what they do. Have you messed around with Zach DeSuba in the Department of Menial Humor at all?
I did. Yeah, I did his show once. Yeah, I know who he is. I've met him a few times. He put me on. I was on the show.
I talked to him a little bit last night, because he does a different version of what we do. We kind of just put our shit out, and he has like a whole program he does.
Yeah, it was. He gets up there, and it was like being on a talk show.
I like that.
I didn't get interviewed, but it was basically he gets up there and he does a monologue or something, and then he brings up comics. Yeah, and then I think he maybe adds skits to it. I have not watched it yet.
It's interesting, because I know we talked about doing a little different, like a show that Sean might, and it still might come out in the future. We still might end up doing it, especially now that the cameras are better. My biggest issue for the longest time has been like my cameras, because I'm like, I don't want to do a bunch of shit with bad cameras. Now that I can see people, it's a lot better.
I just caught up to you. Now I understand what you you're talking about. I was like, what's he talking about? Sean talked about. Nah,
it's called bit check or something.
Check,
I think you're better off with a bad camera on Darren Feinsilver. That guy.
He passed out.
Crystal clear of that guy. Yeah.
Well, the thing that bothered me was like I had a lot of like indie comics check that episode out, and I'm like, this is probably the worst looking version of this that we've ever had.
Yeah, but the audio is what you're really listening to.
It is, and the audio is really good for the show. I will say that the audio version of the show is fucking phenomenal. I do a lot of work on that, and when I started doing the show, I didn't know cameras, I didn't know audio, I didn't know anything. It was brand new, and over time, this show's become what it is. Like it's a whole.
Yeah, you learn as you go.
Yeah,
he didn't let that stop you.
It never.
Which is great. Yeah,
they'll never. I have to be in prison to stop me.
But that's that's the thing.
Caught me.
That's the thing with independent filmmakers. A lot of independent filmmakers don't get anywhere with their movies because they let things stop them. They're like, oh, I don't have the right camera or the right sound equipment. You can't do that. You got to just work with what you have. Start and figure it out.
You might not be good enough for the equipment that you want. If you had it, you might not know what the hell you're doing with it anyway. So start in the beginning with whatever. We started with an iPad and a one like USB microphone. Now we have multiple microphones, multiple cameras. We have a board. We have TV, multiple. Yeah. Do you have you ever messed with Misfit Parade? Have you heard of them?
Who is it?
Misfit Parade.
No, I don't know them.
Check them out. They do a lot of horror films out of indie. The guy Heath Benfield. They're very very talented. They worked with. I met them through a different director who I've worked with multiple times named Brian Foster. He's out of Indianapolis as well. We Are Media LLC. He also does a lot of movies, and he's a videographer. Very, very talented guy. Yeah. Heath's also a videographer. Very, very talented. I met them both. We did a movie called Marijuambies.
Oh, nice.
It's a buddy comedy type of thing. It's really fun. And we helped produce some of it, as far as like monetarily, we threw some money in there. And then we also had like tiny roles in each one of my Kokomo Press compadres.
Yeah. And
then he does TV shows, Canary Currency, Sean and Smoke, The Jab. He does the videography for all those, the directing for all those. So
you don't really have the same kind of connection type stuff with independent film as you do with comedy. You were just talking about how, like last night after the roast battle, most of the comics were hanging out back. Yeah. Outside, and you see all these comics all the time around. You meet different ones all the time, but because of mics and shows, but in independent film, you don't ever run into them unless you're actually on their film.
Or you have to show up to their events.
You show up to something,
That's how you meet them. It's the same thing as comedy. The difference is you don't get the 5 minutes. You just go in there, watch their show, give them feedback, and then share their stuff. My childhood friend, one of my childhood best friends, his name was Derek Flagger, and he started doing his own media. During the pandemic, he got a Amazon Prime gig for doing a show called Canary Currency. And I did a tiny role with it, and then he ended up putting me on a different show he's doing called The Jab, and I ended up being I think the third call. I think I'm third on the call list, which is pretty cool because I didn't know what the role was going to be. And then after me doing that and showing up and actually working for him, he hit me up and was like, hey, I have this other show I'm doing, which is a spinoff of the first show called Canary Currency, Sean and Smoke. And there's a character part I want you to do. And I checked it out, and it was great. I'm playing like a nerdy white guy who thinks he can solve basketball with math.
I'm also in that.
Yeah, and he ended up getting a role because of one of the skits that we did through. So a lot of it just has to do with, and it's everything. It's not like how you got on Helium. You know Dion, and Dion got you on the list. And it's like the more FaceTime you get with people and the more elbows you rub, and if you have good experiences and you treat people with respect, I think eventually they think of you. At least you hope. I think that's the hope, right?
Yeah, that is the hope. Yeah. I'm not good at hanging out because most of the time I have work to do.
Yeah.
I need to do more of that at the comedy stuff because, it's like I got to get home and I got to get this done. I'm under deadlines for animation. And also I don't smoke. So it's like, but, when I get more time, I like to hang out.
Yeah. We got kids. That's our big thing, both and with our kids at home and stuff. That's why Wednesdays is such a good day for me to come. I want to go to I would like to go to the open mic at Planetary, but it's on a Tuesday and it's a lot. I don't get to go to 2. I'd rather go to 2, and it's unfortunate, man, because if there was one more that night that did a late, that's why I think Cole's mic is so important. A lot of people, and I do want to give him his flowers because he's phenomenal. I know he wasn't there last night and he did get shit on a lot. You know what I mean? And that's part of these things. it's a roast.
Right.
But at the same time, him doing a later night mic after a couple, because I know they do the one at Fountain Square, and then I think their Monsters Inc.'s doing one now on Wednesday.
There's another one.
Crystal, who's very, very funny. She's come through to our mic. She's newer to comedy, but working with Kevin and stuff. And it's like, I think the hardest thing for us is we don't have a ton of mics. At least we haven't, or like we don't really mess with the people that run the mics because other bull crap.
Is there anybody that runs mics up here besides you?
There was a place called Blind Tiger Comedy that did a bar in town. They were doing it monthly on Wednesdays. So when we started our mic, we're like, well, we'll just do ours on Thursday, so people can go to both. And then they switched it to a monthly mic, so they only do it once a month now on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
But we just got word recently, once we lost our venue, that another place in town who is kind of likes to steal ideas. That's basically what they're not really original. They like to steal anything anybody else does and co-op things. And they heard we weren't doing our mic on Thursday, so now they've announced a mic on Thursday at the same time we're doing ours. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, because like when we started ours, we looked around at the scene and said, we want there to be opportunity for comics to do more than one show. And of course, in there, because they're not actually comics running it, like they're not like comics that work and actually meet comics and spend time with comics. They're just people that do it for money, and that's all they care about. Because of that, they don't think about the scene. They think about themselves and the money they can make from it. So they're like, we'll do it the same night they did it because it was successful, and it's one of those things.
They'd be better off if they would stack the mics. Like if you had your mic at 7 and they had theirs at 9. Because then you guys would both get more comics. Because part of it is, coming up here for one mic, I liked it. But we're definitely bringing more people if there's 2 mics.
Oh yeah,
then it's like a caravan of people. Let's go get 2 mics.
But they're not thinking.
They don't think that.
They're not thinking about the scene. They're not thinking about the comics. They're thinking about their bottom line and their money. And that's the difference between us. Which is why, like when we started our mic, we knew that people are gonna have to drive to go to our mic. Like we knew that from the jump. But in my head, we were like, let's make it the production so good and everything that we do so good that you want to be a part of it.
Hear me out on this one.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Your open mic at the Hip Hugger.
We tried. They said no.
That's what?
I know.
Okay.
Well, actually, here I'll release this because this was funny. After we lost our mic, our last day for our mic was like the 29th or 28th of.
It's been 2 Thursdays.
Yeah. This would be the 3rd Thursday, which we will be announcing. Our mic will be back this Thursday, so we are not. It's not over. If you made it this far in the podcast, you're going to hear it first. Our mic will be back this Wednesday. Comics are very excited. Our local community that we've cultivated for the last 12 to 14 months is excited to be back somewhere and have a home, because that's really for us, it's all been, and I've said it so many times that it's probably it's ad nauseum at this point, but like when we decided to do this mic, it was all about building a community of comedy, like a comedy community in Kokomo where people want to come out and watch these people that they enjoy. And then they also get to see great comics like you come from Indy, or funny people from Fort Wayne or Muncie. We have people come from Lafayette every week. Like we got people that come every week and they travel an hour or more to be at our mic because they enjoy the production that we put together, and the fact that if you do our mics, we also book multiple shows a year, like mini shows a year, and we get venues. So you'll end up, more than likely, the more I see you, like not, and this isn't like you have to, because we book people that don't come, but like if I see you and I think you're funny and I see you enough, I'm gonna be like, ooh, we should get them on a show, because they're coming out here and they're being a part of it.
I actually had a special show just for those guys.
Yeah, exactly. We did have a showcase specifically for people that have been coming out, and we book almost at this point, almost pretty much not exclusively through our mic, but mostly because we meet these people and we know them and we want them to get paid, and we pay people. But yeah, with everything that we're doing, we just want to build a good community and be a place that people in Indy on Thursday, they're like, man, we don't have a great mic here. Let's go to Kokomo. And Cole actually had one of the greatest lines that I loved, which was he said, if I have a show on a Friday and a Saturday, I want to come to Kokomo because I know there's an audience that I can actually ping things off of, not just comics. So he's like, if I have a big show on Thursday or Friday, I'd like coming to Kokomo, or a big show on Friday and Saturday, I'd like coming to Kokomo on Thursday because I know I'm going to get real feedback. And if he talks to us ahead of time, it's like, hey, I have a show, he might just headline and get 10 minutes at the end rather than, you know what I mean? And it's something that we work with comics all the time. Like if you're driving from Indy and you're coming to our mic and you let me know ahead of time, I'm putting you on the list early. so that I know you're not going to miss your opportunity.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to have somebody drive an hour and a half and not get up. Like, that's never going to happen for us.
Yeah.
I'd rather tell you we're full than have somebody drive like that. But, you know, that's our main thing is, like, we want to build a nice community here, and we want people to want to come through and do comedy with us. And anytime you have a good idea, anytime you do something good and successful, people are going to try to copy it. People are going to try to steal it. It's just it's a part of the thing.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they, you know, the mics would work with each other and stack them.
It just won't happen.
It won't happen.
It won't. It's unfortunate, but it won't happen that way. And it, you know, that's what I like about it.
But ultimately, though, you would get more comedians showing up.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not splitting the comedians.
Yeah.
They're going to both of them.
The good news is I honestly don't. I mean, we'll see what happens. You know, if they do well, hopefully everybody enjoys it. I mean, I personally will never step foot in there because it is like bad business practice to do the things that they've done to us multiple times.
Yeah.
They do like to steal ideas. They do like to steal dates, exact ideas, like everything that we do, they try to do. And then they've had multiple comics, like I think Brent Terhune was booked there. There's a couple people that were booked out of Indy to do the show there that they canceled last minute because they didn't sell enough tickets. And I'm like, that's your job.
Yeah.
Your job is to sell tickets. At the end of the day, with us, if
you can't sell a Brent Terhune ticket, you're terrible.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's so funny.
That guy's easy to sell tickets for. He's great.
Yeah. And he does a great character work on his Instagram of that right wing character that he does.
Yeah.
It's to me, the interesting thing is if we book a show, we put a flyer out and the show's out, I don't care if 10 people show up, the money's already set aside to pay whoever's coming out. If you can't pay them before you get the tickets, then don't fucking book the show because you need to, that's the main thing. I hate canceling shows and you
either have to have the money on your own, like you have to bankroll it yourself.
Yeah.
Or have the money ahead of time and then hope to sell the tickets and try to sell the tickets instead of like, well, if we sell tickets, we'll pay you. That's no good.
That's not good.
You have to just roll the dice and because that's what a producer does. They put the money out. You're producing the show. You put the money out. And then you get your money after everybody else gets their money.
Once you tell somebody, I want you to perform this date for this money, that's a verbal contract.
Yes.
Yeah. And then on top of it, it's even more is
do they have kill fees in comedy? Because they should.
What's that?
Kill fee in illustration is if you hire me. Let's say you're like, hey Bob, I've got an illustration job for you. It pays $500 for this illustration. Okay, cool. My kill fee is $100, which means that if you cancel it, you got to pay me $100.
Yeah.
Which is basically a fee that you pay to an artist if you kill the job before a certain time once it's agreed.
Almost like a deposit. But you just pay it early instead
it's
of
basically late. That. It's, it's a kill fee because they're turning down other work. And it's definitely true of comedians because the comedians are definitely,
that was the point I was making. They turn down something else to do your show, and then you cancel it. Now you've taken away money because they could have been at that show.
They could have been at that show.
That's where my big issue.
Or not to mention, like, say you book somebody from Michigan or Ohio or Iowa, and they've made the drive here, their time spent their own money to get here, and now the show's canceled. Okay, well, just give me my money then. Yeah, you still have to pay. That's our thing. We had a headliner a week before one time drop, and we ended up picking up another headliner, and the headliner was great. Patrick Murray ended up filling in.
Nice.
Last minute, he came through and he did it, and he murdered their crowd, and and we booked. And the fun thing is, since then we booked him again because he was so funny. And it's one of those things where I remember he came through with Sears, Sears.
Yeah.
And she walks in the building, and Sears does, and looks at me, and she's like, looks angry, and I'm like, oh no, like what did we do? Did we fuck something up? Did we piss off the town already? And she's walking through, and she walks to the back to the green room, and we're like, what's going on here? And finally I said, talk to her, I was like, is everything all right? And she goes, I didn't think it was going to be this many people. I'm on shrooms right now. I was like, Sears, you're so funny.
She's funny. Yeah, but she's great.
She thought, like, I guess, and this isn't, I mean, I'm not trying to, like, this isn't me throwing a slide at anybody, but this is what she told me, which is she thought the other people that are booking, she'd booked with them before, and she thought the show was going to be what they book, which is a lot less people in the area. And she walked into a full room and was like, holy shit. This wasn't what I was expecting. You guys are doing big things in Kokomo.
Yeah.
Which I love.
That's great, though. Yeah.
I love surprising comics with an audience. audience. That's
You love a big crowd, man. I like a big
one,
crowd.
a raucous one too.
Right.
A crowd that knows comedy. That's what you want. Because we bought John Moore from Chicago. He was from Indy originally, but then Chicago. He and his girlfriend Morgan Lee came through and co-headlined, and he hit me up last minute and was like, "Hey man, I'm going to be in Indy on Saturday, Sunday. Can you get me something on Friday?" We put a show together in a couple weeks. That show was probably my favorite show we've ever booked. Yeah. Like the energy was great, and they're so funny.
I hosted that night. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Crowd was phenomenal. And now,
awesome.
Now we don't have that venue anymore. So, but we're going to find some more. I appreciate you coming through, Bob, man. Bob East. Check him out on Instagram. Is it B East?
Art of Beast,
The Art of Beast, B East. I was like, I know it looks like Beast.
Yeah.
So it's like the Art
They
of Beast.
call me Beast. Bob East.
Bob East. I love that. That's good. I mean, it's
fun, yeah.
Our friend Courtney is Courtney Leanne, and it's spelled Lean, so she's C-lean, so she's clean.
Nice.
But yeah, so Bob East here. Check him out. The Art of Beast. Caricatures, comedy, director, writer, does it all. Acting. I appreciate you coming through Kokomo, hanging out with us today, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep doing things. You'll probably see Bob do some comedy with us coming up soon, because we definitely want to work on some skits and some comedy and some stuff that we're working on. Definitely want to get you involved, because you're very talented at what you do, and I like picking your brain. You got a great brain to pick.
Yeah,
I like that you have a lot of ideas.
A
lot of ideas. But thank you so much. I'm Jordan Grainger. Sean D.
I'm Sean D. Check out episode 3 of Come On Bro podcast.
Yeah, check out his. All
right,
Bobby.
Thanks,
thank
everybody.
you guys. Kokomo Press Podcast. Bye. Thank you for watching the Kokomo Press Podcast. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share, and tell all your friends about it, because when people know about us, we get to continue to bring new, great, exciting things to you. And if you really want to support us, you can actually go on to Facebook and you can become an official subscriber. It's only $4.99 a month, and you get a lot of access to us. You get to tell us good jokes, tell us all the things you want to, and you're going to get access to new videos, merch, all kinds of things. And if you just want to support us in another way, maybe wear a shirt, wear a hat, something like that, check out kokomopress.shop. It's a brand new store we have set up. It's got all our merchandise needs. It's going to have limited run t-shirts, limited run hats. Go check it out right now. Thank you so much for hanging out with the Kokomo Press on the Kokomo Press Podcast. See you soon. 2 kisses.